2024 is shaping up to be a great year for new MMORPGs coming to the market. Hey guys, Derek26 here. In this video, we're going to go over the top 7 MMOs coming to the market in 2024 that I am hyped for. So with no further ado, let's get right into it. Coming at number 7 on this list is Quinfall. Quinfall is an open world MMO being developed by a new Turkish studio called Varek Technology. This game is ambitious with a capital A.
It is claimed to sport the largest open world that we have ever seen, with a map area consisting of over 2,000 square kilometers. There will be a day-night cycle in different biomes, each with its own distinct climates. Additionally, there will be seasonal climate cycles in each biome affecting both the weather and diversity of the region's plants and animals, thus having the downstream effect of impacting player trade. The combat is a dynamic action-based, non-tab target system with active blocking and dodge rolling. There are 9 classes in the game. Each one looks like it comes with 2 different subclass specializations. And some of the spell and skill animations shown off so far are looking pretty good. The character customization is absolutely immense, with supposedly hundreds of different muscle and bone controls on the face alone. There will be both PvE and PvP in the game, and each of these also seems incredibly ambitious. You can build your own ships and have ship battles, and also battle huge sea monsters. There's large-scale castle sieges. You can take over cities and implement your own policies. You can build your own house and even run your own inn. There seems to be a ton of mounts you can acquire in the world and even breed your own. You apparently can even craft other vehicle types. The scope of this game is just plain massive. This game is set to release in 2024, and there's a beta starting in January. I would honestly have this game higher on my list, but I really doubt that it's going to be a full release this year. Also, with such a huge scope, I'm skeptical that this new development team is going to be able to pull all these different features together and make them work together seamlessly. But this title is definitely talking a good game, and I'm sure to keep my eye on it.
Next on our list is a game that looks very much like Destiny 2, but with a much more open world feel to it. This game is Project LLL by NCSoft.
It is an open world third-person MMO shooter built in Unreal Engine 5 and coming to PC and consoles. The game is going to be more open world and MMO focused than other similar looking games such as Destiny 2 or The Division, with the lead developer saying that, quote, "We wanted to create a new genre that is completely different from the recently popular looter shooter or battle royale." This kind of makes sense given it is developed by NCSoft, a company long known for making MMOs, such as Lineage 1 and 2, Aeon, and the upcoming Throne and Liberty, among others. This game is to have both PvE and PvP and feature a story-driven campaign. It is set in a sci-fi world blended with alternative histories, with a timeline spanning the 10th century Byzantine Empire, post-apocalyptic Seoul, and the 23rd century. They say there will be predefined characters to choose from, each with a unique name and backstory that is set in one of these unique time periods. Project LLL will also feature land and air vehicles coming with different functionalities and combat capabilities. The most epic looking of these being what are called the Power Loaders, massive robots that players can use to obliterate their adversaries. This game looks great visually and has definitely piqued my interest with this push to a more open world and MMO direction.
Okay, now on to the next game on the list. This game is somewhat of a surprise to me, as it was first announced back in 2020, but we haven't heard much of it since. But now it's apparently ready to launch in 2024. This game is Ark Age 2, the sequel to the original Ark Age.
Ark Age was a game that had so much potential. It was a game that was filled with many great ideas and features, had a lot of sandbox elements to it, and on paper seemed to be an absolutely amazing game. It unfortunately was plagued by a horrible pay-to-win monetization and never was able to reach the potential that it seemed to have. But now we have Ark Age 2. Will it be able to capitalize on the potential of its predecessor and be a success? Well, let's take a look at what we know so far. Ark Age 2 is going to be a seamless, open-world action MMO that is being produced by XL Games out of South Korea. And it's going to be available on both PC and console. It too is being developed in Unreal Engine 5 and does look quite stunning visually. It is set in the same world as the original, but players will be exploring a different timeline. PvE gameplay will be focusing on non-linear progression-based experience with an immersive storyline. There will be PvP in the game, but the developers stated that they'll be moving away from the large-scale faction-based PvP of the original, focusing more on a single-player story progression and small group co-activities such as dungeons. There will, however, be guild versus guild PvP focused around trade runs. Some improvements of the original are said to include improved player housing and customization and improvements to its trade run system. This all looks and sounds really good. Here's my worry though. They still have not released information on their payment model. And the payment model and monetization of the original Ark Age is one of the main things that strangled the game. I feel like Ark Age 2 currently sits at a position similar to what the original did when it released, with a lot of hype and potential, but we're just gonna have to see if the developers had learned their lesson the first time from the unbalanced pay-to-win experience that the original unfortunately ended up being.
Next up, we have another fantastic looking game from another dev team out of Korea, and this game is Chrono Odyssey from NPixel.
This game was initially scheduled for a release in 2022, but the team changed plans and updated the game from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. And from the gameplay videos we have, it looks gorgeous. It will be released on PC and consoles and is set in the world of Satera, a vast, seamless, and dangerous world. Many of the dangers of the world are caused by, quote, twisted time and space and contradicting timelines. Time manipulation will play a major role in the game. The combat in the game is what got me really excited, as it is a full action combat with blocking and dodging, not only for the player, but for the monsters as well. The monsters have unpredictable AI patterns and can dodge and strike you back. Time manipulation plays a role in combat as well, as you'll be able to stop and rewind time mid-fight. So this will be interesting to see how it plays out in game. There will be 6 classes: Swordsman, Ranger, Sorcerer, Paladin, Berserker, and the Assassin, and you'll be able to swap between 2 different weapon sets for each class. The classes are not gender locked, and you'll be able to customize your character. As for the open world gameplay, we know that there will be world bosses, as we've seen several from the release footage, and they look awesome, as you can see a multitude of different attacks and movements. We're not exactly sure what the monetization model is going to look like yet, but NPixel's only other game, Grand Saga, is a free-to-play game with a cash shop and gacha mechanics, and unfortunately it is pay to win. I'm guessing this game is also going to be free to play, but let's hope it's not pay to win, as I hate to see this game get ruined by bad monetization.
All right, on to Teraland, the World of Warcraft-like theme park fantasy MMO by Tencent. I got to play the closed beta 2 of this game, and I played a ton of it, so I get to tell you all about it firsthand.
First of all, it does indeed look and feel a whole lot like World of Warcraft. This includes many of the classes, abilities and spell animations, NPCs, world regions, and game features. It's not an exact copy of World of Warcraft like I've heard some people state, but they have definitely borrowed many of its features as well as its look and feel. There are 9 classes in the game, and each class has 2 different specializations that you can change in and out from. For example, the Paladin has a tank and DPS spec, and the Phantom Priest has a DPS and healing spec. The classes unfortunately are gender locked, and the customization options are fairly limited. What else is weird is putting on new equipment does not change the appearance of your gear. It looks like you have to unlock outfits to actually change the way your character looks, of which the only ones I saw were in the cash shop. Besides these limitations, the character models and the environment look pretty good. It has an aesthetic very similar to World of Warcraft, but Teraland pulls it off very well, and I found the world to be immersive and inviting. The story, however, wasn't very strong, and it seemed somewhat superficial and not deep and intriguing like the game it's trying to emulate, i.e. World of Warcraft. On the gameplay side, the combat is tab target and feels responsive and has solid ability animations. No complaints here. There are dungeons that play an integral part of the level and experience, and there's both regular and elite versions of each. The dungeons themselves felt solid and enjoyable, although definitely on the easier side. I tanked all the dungeons, and the regular versions were just an absolute cakewalk, whereas the elite dungeons were a step up, but still not very difficult. There are raids that you can start early on in your journey, and they are very straightforward but enjoyable. The game also offers other PvE features such as world bosses, world events, and tower-type progression content, to just name a few. Teraland does have PvP that consists of World of Warcraft-style battlegrounds and arenas. The battlegrounds were entertaining, but there was a balance issue between classes and different specs that the devs are going to have to work out before launch. Okay, now on to the dreaded monetization. The game originally advertised itself as specifically non-pay to win, but those of us in the second beta learned that that was not the case. the game is actually pay to win. You can 100% buy power with real money. Hopefully Tencent will change this, but they have not been very forthcoming as of yet. I honestly had a hard time where to place Teraland on this list. On the one hand, we know a lot more about it than the other games below it on the list that I've mentioned already. But there are some drawbacks and issues with the game. In spite of this, I actually had a lot of fun playing the game. The world was inviting and I just had a great time exploring all that the game had to offer. If they fix these monetization issues, maybe add some more class customization, I think the game is a solid game that a lot of people will enjoy, and maybe even a main game. On to the next one.
Okay, moving right along to the next MMO on our list, we have a sci-fi/anime dynamic action MMO developed by Bandai Namco and published by Amazon Games in the West. We have Blue Protocol.
If you like anime or anime-style games such as Genshin Impact or Tower of Fantasy, this game may be right up your alley. Blue Protocol is already released in Japan and is coming to PC and consoles in the West really soon. It sports a large, beautiful anime-style world that is instance-based, so it's not a seamless open world like some of the other games, but it looks great nonetheless. There are 5 classes in the game and each one is pretty unique. You have a Blade Warden, which is a short-range defensive sword and shield class, the Twin Striker, a dual axe-wielding melee class, the Keen Strider, which looks really interesting, which is a range bow class which also specializes in support, the Spellweaver, which is a mage-like class, and the Foebreaker, who wields a massive combo weapon that is half heavy hammer and half cannon. The game utilizes a job-like mechanic like Final Fantasy XIV, where you can freely change out classes by switching which weapon is equipped. For gameplay, Blue Protocol has an intriguing voiced-over anime-style main quest line. There are also open-world monsters, dungeons, world bosses, raids, and tower-type progression game modes. Interestingly, there will be no PvP, as the game focuses on its core PvE game elements. The game is free to play with a season pass that has both a free and paid tiers. There is also a cash shop that sells a variety of items such as cosmetics, mounts, and accessories. One thing to note is that the cash shop does have gacha mechanics, and there are some pay-to-win elements in the Japanese version of the game. Now, Amazon game devs have said that they will try to tone down this in the Western release and are focusing on a fair and fun business model. So we'll have to keep an eye out and see how this plays out upon release.
Okay, here we are at the top spot for the MMO that I am most hyped for in 2024, and it is Throne and Liberty.
Throne and Liberty is a game that I have been following for a very long time. It was first announced way back in 2011, and it was originally set to be another sequel in the Lineage series. It was also at one point going to be played from a top-down perspective, similar to Lost Ark. But many changes happened over the long development cycle, and now we have Throne and Liberty, a brand new IP by NCSoft. It is already out in Korea and is being launched globally soon. The Western version again is being developed by Amazon Games, and it's going to be available on PC and consoles. Interestingly, it was going to be available on mobile devices also, and along with that came some pretty horrible features such as autoplay and offline play. This probably also affected how clunky the combat was in order to accommodate a mobile release. The developers thankfully listened to feedback and scrapped the mobile release as well as the autoplay and offline play features. The game is created in Unreal Engine 4 and is absolutely stunning. You can explore the world by shapeshifting into various animals and take to the air, sea, and land. You can also reach high points with grapple hooks and sail back down safely on your glider. The world has shifting weather patterns that can affect player skills and abilities, and day-night cycles which can bring new challenges and enemies. Classes are handled differently in Throne and Liberty, as there is no predefined class that you select. Instead, players can choose any 2 weapons to use at a given time and mix and match the strengths of each weapon to suit their needs, a bit like how New World handles classes. The combat received a lot of hate after the first beta test, but the dev team again listened to feedback and updated and streamlined the combat. It is much more fluid and smooth now. The combat is tab target, but now does look very dynamic and fast-paced. Players can string together abilities from each weapon and also utilize an active block mechanic. For gameplay, there is a well-told, voiced-over main story quest line, world events, world bosses, open world PvP, guild raids, dungeons, and a lot of trailers showing off these huge, awesome-looking PvP castle sieges with large siege mounts and tons of players participating. but there's actually not a lot of details pertaining to these yet. So what about the monetization? It looks like this game will be free to play with a Battle Pass type subscription. One thing to note is that players on the Korean version of the game that has launched recently have shown that there are some pay-to-win elements in the game. But I have seen some discussion with the Amazon game developers taking feedback about the payment model and concerns over pay-to-win for the global release. So again, we'll have to wait and see what they decide to do. I think this game looks fantastic and has a ton of potential if they don't ruin it with bad monetization, and I'm excited for the global launch. Alright, that's the 7 MMOs set to come out in 2024 that I am most hyped about. What games are you guys excited about, and which one tops your list? Leave your comments below. I am honestly curious what you guys think. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like for the algorithm, and don't forget to subscribe for more MMO content. Also, if you have any questions or like to chat about your favorite MMO, stop by our Twitch channel and say hi to Dividend AI. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to my very first Patreon supporters. I'm now doing this full time, and you guys are helping enable me to continue to make content, and I really appreciate the support. If you'd like to support the channel, I'll leave the details below. Okay guys, I will see you in the next one.